In this presentation, we will look at what the word autism means and some of the primary markers of the condition. So, what is autism? Autism is the most common condition in a group of developmental disorders known as the Autism Spectrum Disorders, ASDs. Other conditions on the spectrum include Asperger syndrome and childhood disintegrative disorder and pervasive developmental disorder, not otherwise specified, usually referred to as PDD-NOS. Although autism varies significantly in character and severity, it occurs in both sexes and in all ethnic and socioeconomic groups. What does that mean? Autism is a neurobiological disorder. This means that the brain develops differently from the neurotypical brain. Studies of people with ASD have found differences when compared to neurotypical brain development in several regions of the autistic brain. While these findings are intriguing, they are preliminary and require further study. The theory that parental practices are responsible for ASD has long been disproved. When is autism normally diagnosed? There's no hard or fast rule here. In the majority of cases, autism is diagnosed in early childhood when the child does not reach developmental markers, or based on the concerns raised by parents. In the case of more high-functioning forms of autism and Asperger syndrome, individuals can be diagnosed in later childhood, teens, and into adulthood. Autism is characterized by impaired social interaction with others, difficulty with verbal and nonverbal communication, unusual repetitive or severely limited activities and interests. Most recently, sensory disturbances have also been added as marked symptoms of autism in the DSM-5 2013. Some of the early markers of autism may be absence or delay in speech and language. A child should have at least 6 recognizable words at 18 months. Repetition of words, echolalia, in place of a normal verbal communication. Hand leading to communicate in place of verbal requests. Absence of verbal communication. Meltdowns, loss of emotional control, disinterested in others and engaging with others socially. The need for sameness and routine, and adverse reactions to a change to regular routines. This is not a definitive or exhaustive list. Always seek professional advice. Let's look at some difficulties in the area of relating to others. Absence of eye contact, not engaging in play with others, content to play alone. Lack of interest in other children and what the other children are doing. Lack of response to verbal requests, not responding when their name is called, avoidance of physical contact, even with parents and siblings, indifference to others in distress or pain. In the area behavior, some of the traits of autism would be self-stimulation, spinning, rocking, hand flapping, inappropriate laughter or anger for no apparent reason, lack of emotional regulation, inappropriate attachment to objects, obsessive-compulsive behaviors, for example, lining up objects, repetitive play for extended periods of time, example, stacking blocks for a long period of time, insistence on routine and sameness, difficulty dealing with interruption of routine schedule and change, possible self-injurious behavior or aggressive behavior toward others. In the area of sensory challenges, the markers could be hyper, over, or hypo, under sensitivity of the 5 senses. Heightened responses, hyper to sensory stimuli, an overreaction to something seemingly minor in the sensory environment. For example, reactions to noise, smells, touch, tactile sensations. A lack of response, hypo, to pain or sensory-seeking behaviors like banging of the head. Now let's look at the area of interventions. Autism is a life-enduring condition. Once a child is diagnosed with autism, they will have autism for the rest of their lives. Early intervention is vital in the development of the child. Each child or adult with autism is unique, and so each autism intervention plan should be tailored to address their specific needs. Therapies and behavioral interventions are designed to remedy specific symptoms and can bring about substantial improvement. The IDEA developmental plan coordinates therapies and interventions that target the core symptoms of autism: impaired social interaction, problems with verbal and nonverbal communication, and obsessive or repetitive routines and interests. See the presentation on interventions in this section. Typically, different interventions and supports become appropriate as a child develops and acquires social and learning skills. As children with autism enter school, for example, they may benefit from targeted social skills training and specialized approaches to teaching. Adolescents with autism can benefit from transition services that promote a successful maturation into independence and employment opportunities of adulthood. Let's take a look at how autism can impact a child's development. First, let's look at impaired social skills. Children are curious about the world around them as they grow up. This curiosity can be absent in children with autism, as they often seem disinterested in other people or unaware of what is going on around them. Many children with autism can lack social skills and social awareness, and do not naturally develop the skills to socially interact with others. Children with autism may prefer to play alone, have difficulty with turn-taking, and have difficulty in interpreting the feelings and actions of others. Now let's look at emotional regulation. Children with autism often have difficulties in regulating their emotions. They may be prone to outbursts, aggressive behaviors such as hitting and biting, and act without understanding the consequences of their actions. This inability to regulate emotional responses is common in children with autism, which can result in non-typical responses in certain situations. These responses can be driven by anxiety, sensory factors, overload, or a change in routine. And finally, language. We use both expressive, outgoing, and receptive, incoming language to communicate. We also use facial expressions and body language. Language development is normally delayed in children with autism. A child would normally have words around 12 to 18 months. Language and communication remain an ongoing challenge for children with autism. In this presentation, we have focused on the challenges people with autism face. It is important to remember that people with autism have many wonderful talents, characteristics, and abilities. Please take a look at this video that focuses on the abilities of people with autism.